Good afternoon. This is Bob Iacchino from Pat Trading Partners. I am not alone. My co-founder Mike Arnold is here as well. It is June 5th, and this is an afternoon Pat Chat covering the futures markets. A little bit of news today of note. A surprise cutting of diplomatic ties with Qatar, which a lot of people pronounce Qatar, but it is Qatar. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates all cut diplomatic ties, suspended use of airspace, essentially put a blockade around Qatar, based on their alleged support of terrorism and the state of Iran. This was a little bit of a surprise. There's been a long history of tensions between the countries based on their support of Iran and the Muslim Brotherhood, but it was a little bit of a surprise to the markets. Crude oil popped initially, sold off, and then ended up ever so slightly higher on the day, but still below 48. Gold was up, but has since come off a little bit in the aftermarket as well. It is definitely a geopolitical risk. If it were to accelerate and interrupt the flow of oil from that region. Qatar doesn't really produce a ton of oil, but it can just, you don't want anything in the Middle East to ramp up the way this potentially could. Adding to geopolitics, we've got James Comey this week. I'll probably mention it again. He's testifying on Thursday. Donald Trump's spokesperson announced that he would not use executive privilege to try and hamper the testimony at all. So it's a free-flowing testimony in terms of what James Comey and the president spoke about in private. Also, UK elections, the polls had tightened up significantly. There was a terror attack, unfortunate terror attack in London this past weekend, and that has helped the Conservative Party widen their lead ever so slightly. We really don't have a reliable post-terrorist attack poll, but they had already widened their lead by a couple of points, still within single digits though, so that's not the best scenario for Theresa May and the Conservatives. The Labour Party has really picked up. Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party has picked up substantial support since April 18th when the snap election was announced. At that point, the Conservatives were leading the Labour Party by about 17.5, 18 points in most polls. Now again, single digits. A website reported through leaked documents that Russia did in fact hack into voting machines. Now this was back in May. They used the information supposedly to create an email list and test phishing emails, send out fake stories. They didn't actually succeed in adjusting the voting at all. But the leaker was arrested. So the leak came out yesterday, and the leaker was arrested today. We'll see. Obviously innocent until proven guilty, but there was someone arrested. And from the stories I'm reading, there has been essentially a confession about who this leaker is. So we'll see where that goes. A little bit of a Twitter battle between London Mayor Sadiq Khan and President Donald Trump, mostly on the Trump side. Sadiq Khan responded to Donald Trump's tweets about him being soft on terrorism. Obviously, the London Mayor Sadiq Khan is a Muslim. He said that Trump's tweet was ill-informed and not worthy of a response, so nothing going on there. There were multiple arrests. I believe 11 people have been arrested so far in connection with this weekend's terror attacks. Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference going on. They announced Apple's HomePod, which will compete with Amazon Echo and Google Home. Supposedly going to cost twice as much. We don't know if it's going to be twice as smart yet. They announced peer-to-peer payments at the Worldwide Developer Conference. And also, Tim Cook's comments on the glucose monitor at Apple's event helped Dexcom shares jump nearly 4%. So we'll see. Apple usually sells off into this meeting and throughout it, and then a couple of days after it, and then bounces pretty decently. We'll see if that continues. On top of that, a little bit of economic news today. We had some misses in UK's market services PMI and the composite PMI. They missed by a very little bit. The composite PMI came out at 54.4 in the UK versus 55.5 expected, and 53.8 versus 55 expected. Germany's composite PMI beat a little bit, and their services PMI did as well. 57.4 versus 57.3 expected, and 56.3 versus 56.2 expected. France's market PMI missed 57.2 on the services number versus 58 expected, 56.9 versus 57.6 expected on the composite. Going into U.S. number, April's factory orders down 0.2%. That's what was expected. U.S. durable goods orders, April's final number dropped a little bit more, down 0.8 versus down 0.6 expected. Ex transports down 0.5 versus down 0.2 expected. That is really about it. Eventful, more on the geopolitical front than anything. But in the meantime, let me turn it over to Mike to let you know what he's seeing on the charts. Take over, Mike. It's yours.
Thank you, Bob. Wanted to do a quick update tonight on some of the markets we follow because we had slight pullbacks in some of the financial futures, which enable us to update some of our GAN levels. So let's go over those key markets now. Dow mini futures, very narrow range today, inside day from yesterday. Let's see what the levels tell us. If we get another pullback tomorrow, we are looking at around 21,133 first level of support. That'd be 12.5% GAN level. Then we could fall down to a prior breakout zone and the rising 8 area, and this is a general area around 21,078, slightly possibly below that, 21,074. If we break down that, then we have two key GAN levels coming in about 21,025. And on a substantial drop, we'd be looking about 20,972, but you might find some support at 20,000 or 21,000. On the rally side, if we do get above yesterday's highs and close to today's highs right around 21,230, we're looking with our new GAN projections 21,321 and then 21,414. Switching over to the S&P levels, we also updated. If this pulls back tomorrow, 2,427.50 first level of support. Next level coming in about 2,420 to 2,421. Then we could see 2,416 on a much bigger drop, which would take us back to a prior breakout zone and the 25% GAN. If we rally through yesterday's highs, roughly 2,440, if we can get through that, looking for 2,451, then 2,463. And over to the NASDAQ. If we get a pullback in the NASDAQ tomorrow, 58.50 is the first key level. Then we'd be looking at 58.23, 58.13, and 58.07. So 58.07 to 58.23 is going to be very, very key support. Prior breakout zone, two different GAN levels, and a rising 8 in there. If we were to fall through that, eventually we'd be looking at 57.64 area. On a rally higher, exceeding today's highs around 58.91 and a quarter, we'd be looking for 59.33, 59.59, then 59.76. So those are those key levels in the NASDAQ. Checking in really quickly on crude. Rallied up today, not quite to the 8, then collapsing back down. Really have a couple lines in the sand. This is a prior breakdown zone right around this 48.36. If it can get above there, you're going to have some minor resistance right above that 48.50 to 53 from the 8. Then we could see it if it gets through there. The next major zone is 48.77 to 48.88. Heading lower, very key support 46.86 to 46.73. This area, 62.5% GAN zone. Today's low, yesterday or Friday's low, just below that. That's going to be critical. If that breaks, watch for it to return to the 46.26 GAN level and the 46.18 end of clear path area. And if that's broken, we're looking for 45.82. Remember, this is still a trendline trade that was not tradable on this time frame because we didn't get a close below the defining point until here where it reached down most of the way to target. But there are ways to trade this intraday in the direction of this downward move. Checking in on gold. Gold pausing still at this key area, this 1284, 1285 area. We've mentioned that many times. Prior breakdown zone 1282.90, pretty much where it almost closed today, and our declining trend line. Really need to get through this 1287. If we get through 1287, watch for a potential quick run to 1291 to 1292, then 1295 on a pullback. 1277 is going to be your first very key level. This little spike high and GAN level coming in there. Then we could fall to 1271 to 72, and if that's broken, 1265 is key. And finally, switching over to silver. Talked about in the weekend update, reaching up this 200. Our original target was this 1767 area. Then I said it could go down to about 1764 to 1767. Today's high, 1765. This is first target reached on this trend line trade for me. If we do push up again, we could see the 1767, followed by next key major area is going to be 1781, followed by 1791, followed by $18. On a pullback, support coming in 1740 area, then 1735 to 36, and then 33. So it's 33 to 36 going to be very key if we pull back. We have a rising 8 in a prior breakout zone and a key GAN level. If we did have a major fall in silver, next major area is 1725 to watch for. That's all we have for you. Back to you, Bob.
Thanks for that, Michael. There's a new Money Path podcast out. You can find it at pathtradingpartners.com or on Apple's iTunes Store or Google Play. Click like and subscribe if you like what we're doing, and we will talk to you in the next Path Chat. Cheers, everyone.